This is the VK7201K, the new German heavy at tier 10 that came out when update 5.5 came along. Basically what they did, they removed the VK4502B from the mouse line, and to get this tank you now have to research that tank. But what's it actually like as a tank? Hello again everybody and welcome back to Fujit's Blitz, and today we're looking at the VK7201K, what I call the potential me machine. This is the new German tier 10 heavy, which came along when they rejigged the mouse line by inserting the two new tanks. What they did, they sort of removed the VK4502B from the mouse line, and now it has its own tech tree, and this is the tank you get. What's it actually like though? Well, in fairness, I think it's a mixed bag. Okay, it's got the same gun as the E100, but it doesn't have particularly great armor. Now, you could go over to Meadzy69's video when this tank first came out, and he clearly states, quite rightly, that this is not a bad tank if you go haul down. I find the armor pretty difficult to get on with. As a tank itself, this is not an easy tier 10. I mean, let's give you a bit of the stats on this thing. I mean, it's got a DPM of 2,465, which isn't great, but as I said, it's the same gun as the E100. Penetration-wise, its average is 258, but I run it with calibrated shells, which brings it up to 271. Now, if you stick in a gun rammer, the reload time actually drops to below 16 seconds, but as I said, I run it with calibrated shells, so for me it's actually just shy of 17 seconds. Now, the reason I run it with the calibrated shells is because I find the pen pretty trolly, as I will get to later in this video. Now, damage wise, with your standard AP you're going to get around 640. With your heat round, that's going to drop to 550, but the pen will increase with the calibrated shells to 367, and with your HE it will drop penetration to 94, and you'll dish out damage of around 960. Not too bad. With the calibrated shells and everything else, you've got a rate of fire of just under 4 rounds every minute, which is the same as the E100. Gun aim time is just shy of 3 seconds. Its gun depression, however, is 7 degrees, which isn't great. And it's really quite slow, but that's because it's a massive heavy tank. Its turning circle, as you can see here, is not the best, and okay, I'm battling out here with an E50, and we finally get rid of him. Well, I don't, the mouse does. The thing about this tank is it's an awful side scraper. I'll be straight off the bat, and we'll show you some of its armor weaknesses later in the video. The gun is very effective. You'll see here it will put a massive shot into this bat chat, although that was a heat round and I didn't get anywhere near the 900 that I should have been looking for. The thing is, it's a tricky tank. It's neither the E100 or the mouse. And a lot of people need to understand that. The armor on this thing is not that easy to get to grips with. The gun, okay, it's slow, but it's no different, as I say, to the E100. Once you've got used to that gun, then you'll have a good time, and we did okay there. It wasn't too bad, not setting the world on fire. Now, let's talk about this penetration. Here I am, and there's an Object 263. So I've shoved in calibrated shells and heat. So I should be getting 367 pen. Watch this. Bounce number 1. Why? I mean, that shouldn't have bounced, to be perfectly honest with you. And this is what I'm saying about the penetration on this thing. It is a bit hit and miss sometimes. Here comes, ready for the reload, because it's a long reload. Here we go again. Completely and another bounce. Now, I know it's an Object 263, and I know the Object 263 has got trolly armor, but if you look, where I'm aiming is completely grey. It should be penning. bounce number 3. So that's 3 bounces on heat, which, don't forget, has a massive penetration on this thing. I mean, okay, I get a nice bounce there, but I'm now down to 126 hit points. What about AG? No. What about heat again? Yeah, and I'm still loading and I'm waiting for him to go up. Oh, I finally get pen. But don't forget, with the heat rounding calibrated chance, I should be able to penetrate up to 367. So, bounce, bounce. But the gun does work and the armor does work on occasion. So there we go, pretty good gun. We whack in a massive roll into that E100, and that was a pretty tricky shot. He only showed his sides, and that was with the heat. Now, again, you know, it does pen every now and then. It's sometimes I just find it trolly. And it, as Meadsy said in his video, it's great haul down. So I'm haul down here. All you can see is the top of my turret, realistically. But don't forget, guys, on the top of that turret is an hatch, and you can actually hit that hatch. And when you do, boy, you are in for a world of pain. Because I have been in this tank when an FV Death Star has hit the top of that hatch, which was one hell of a shot and completely almost wiped me out. There's the E100 again. He's got his back to me. I've got the heat still loaded. Easily whacking a 400 round. I meant to load AP there, not heat. That was my bad. But it doesn't really matter. So the gun does work. It's just I find it sometimes hit and miss. It is the AP. Get a nice 800 roll, which is a really good gun. I mean, like I keep saying, it's the same as the E100. So the gun does work, but sometimes I find it trolly. Now, this is my good friend Harrier77 of 49 div, rolling out in his VK7201K on Normandy. Now, we can say lots of things about this tank, but the one thing I have to emphasize, this is a tricky tier 10. In fact, I think it's one of the worst tier, well, it's not the worst tier 10. That accolade, unfortunately, belongs to an American tank that I shall not name in this video. But I know Bushka's mentioned it a few times, and so have some of the other CCs. But this is a pretty close run second for a tier 10. I mean, the VK4502B is a very tricky tier 9, but is a fantastic tier 9, don't get me wrong. This, on the other hand, is a letdown from that line, in my opinion. I'm not just panning it because, you know, I've struggled in it. I'm panning it because for a tier 10, I don't quite get it. The armor is, as I say, hit and miss. A lot of things can pen it, and a lot of things can pen it very, very easily. Even tier 9 tanks. I mean, I was in a tier 9 game just the other day, and a T-54 was able to sort of wipe me out. That's a T-54, and he was hitting me all over the shop. So for tier 10, it's a pretty poor tier 10. But once you do get used to it, you can be effective. This is why I call it the potential mean machine, because boy, you can dish out some pain in this thing, but you've got to play it unlike a normal heavy. You can't bully your way along the front line like you can with a mouse or a E100. This thing will just not absorb shots. You've got to play it more like a TD stroke medium tank. You've got to get it into cover, and you've got to pick those targets. I mean, but when it does fire, I mean, boy, its damage output is fantastic. But it's no different to an E100. The only difference being is that the E100's got really good armor. This thing doesn't have great armor. I mean, you can side scrape really well in an E100. You can't in this. I mean, as you see here, Harrier77 is up close and personal with this Jag Tiger, and the Jag Tiger, in fairness, is struggling to pen him, and he's having no problems penning the Jag Tiger. I mean, when the Jag Tiger does this, it's just all over. I mean, unfortunately, it's a wasted shot for Harrier. It was only 3 hit points, but it doesn't really matter. He does the job. But as you can see, you know, if you stick it in the right place, then yeah, it's a great tank. But that's going to take a lot to get used to, and a lot of people are going to get this tank and they're going to struggle in it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Unless you've got a really good win rate, oh, what a fantastic kill that is on that Maoshan. But like I was saying, if you haven't got a particularly good win rate, and you're not particularly good at dealing with the VK4502B, you're really going to struggle in this tank, guys. You really need to understand its mechanics, and you need to understand how the armor works and how the gun works. Because if you don't, boy, you're in for a rough time. And that's a fantastic game. I mean, 3,000 damage. He's taken out 3 tanks, and he's capped a lot, and he gets a well-deserved second class. But I mean, look at that. The Waffle Tractor did really well in that game. Now, this is me rolling out on Alpenstadt. Again, in the same tank, obviously, because it's a VK7201K review. Now, like I said, the tank is particularly slow. You're going to get it hard pressed to get above 30 kilometers an hour. You can with a strong breeze and going down the hill. But it's a big, heavy, clumsy tank. I mean, you need to understand that. I mean, this thing rolls slowly. But watch this. I mean, the gun is fantastic. I mean, that's a massive 687 straight into that poor object 140. I mean, he probably didn't know what hit him. And then the FV, just for good measure, not the FV, sorry, the Waffle Tractor, just for good measure, also shoved a massive roll into him. So here we are, slowly making our way towards the A cap. I know that there's a Foch up there, there's an object, and there's the Leo PTA. And there's the object, and there's the Foch, just popping into vision now. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and cap, but I'm going to try and keep them where they are, because, oh, and here we have a Cent 7-1. Again, I think the Waffle Tractor is going to whack one into him, and just for good measure, I stick a massive AP into his side and get rid of him. So we've done 1,300 damage so far, which is not bad. But as you see, the Leo PTA managed to easily pen me and take quite a bit of damage from me there. Now, I push forward, and this gun is fantastic. I mean, another just shy of 700 into the PTA. He bounced me there, only because I was angled slightly. And this is what I say about the armor being quite trolly. The Foch gets very aggressive. I'm on this long reload, but eventually you turn and I can take him out. And there we go. 2,329 damage so far, and we bounced 350, and we've taken a cap. Oh, a Jag Tiger has also popped into view. What can we do here? Well, he's oblivious to me, and I can stick in 618 into the side of him. PTA makes a dash for it. The object 140 is still there, bless him. There's no way I'm going to be able to get him though. He's behind a rock, so somebody else does it for me, and it's the Waffle Tractor. Now, I've got the PTA and the Jag Tiger over there. I know there's an E100, a T50 Heavy over in the corner behind me. Not much I can do about that. I've got 2 tanks in front of me. Now, the aim time on this thing is pretty long. However, you can pull off some shots like this. I mean, okay, we're only at 575, but that's into the side of a Jag Tiger. That's a pretty difficult shot, to be fair, guys. So now we've done 3,522 damage. We're still in this same position. Why? Because 1, my armor is weak to an extent, and 2, I've got 2 tanks in front of me. Now I'm going to try the same shot again and completely miss. It's just the way it rolls with this thing. And we bounce another 350 from the PTA. Only because we were slightly angled, if you saw. We're on that little sort of rise. And that allowed us to bounce whatever the PTA threw at us. There's the Jag Tiger again. Oh, we get a 617 to him. Now the E100's come behind me. I'm on a long reload. I'm trying to get side onto him so he can't really shoot me that well. I'm a 2-shot for him. He knows that. He's a 1-shot for me, and somebody kills him before I can get there. 4,127 damage, bounce 700, and we took a cap. We've lost half our hit points, but you know, we're in a good position. There's only 2 tanks left, the Jag Tiger and the Leo, but we're winning on cap points anyway. So there we go. We get a well-deserved first class. We get quite a nice amount of credits. Not too bad. Here is my friend Harrier 77, again of 49 div, rolling out here on Winter Melanovka. Now, as I say, this tank is not the easiest to get to grips with, but once you understand some of its quirky mechanics, yes, it's good fun. It will frustrate the bejesus out of you on occasion, but you can have good fun in this tank, and you can be really, really effective. The gun, when it wants to play, is fantastic. When it pens, it's really fantastic. The armor, it's still meh to me. And this is the thing that lets it down. I mean, I think it needs a buff. I think the armor needs a buff because it's too weak for tier 10. It's as simple as that. And I know that a lot of people have got masteries in this, and a lot of people play this tank really well. But for the average player, guys, trust me, you're going to struggle. I mean, that's a fantastic shot into the Chieftain. Straight down his nose, 650. What more could you ask for? Now, getting back to why I think it needs a buff, it's because it tier 10, as I say, I just think the armor is far, far too weak. I think the gun you can live with. Okay, sometimes it won't pen, sometimes it bounces everything, but you can live with that. I mean, that's just the game, that's RNG gods, that's all that sort of stuff. I mean, when it does work, I mean, look at this. I mean, 728 into the nose of that IS-8. Poor little thing didn't even know what hit him. The only thing that lets it down is the armor, in my real opinion. I mean, okay, I'm not the best player in this thing. I never have. I mean, look at that. I mean, everything can pen it realistically, but boy, the gun is great. I mean, as I was saying, I'm not the best player in this tank. I never will be. But I'm an average player, and majority of the Blitz is average players. This tank is so difficult to get to grips with. It's really quite difficult, to be honest with you. And it's just because of the armor. Once you've got used to everything else, it's great. I mean, you can play it like a TD. You can camp at the back and you can put rain of fire on people. But it's not a TD, guys. This is a heavy tank. And don't forget, the tank that it emanates from, the VK4502B, is a fantastic tank. It's got fantastic armor. So why this thing has got pantsy armor is beyond me. I mean, look at this. I mean, Harry has only bounced 400 so far. If this was a VK and you're sticking, a VK4502B and you're sticking it in these positions, you'll bounce almost everything, to be honest with you. I mean, you go and have a look at the armor profile of the VK4502B and then compare it to this and you'll scratch your head, because this one makes no sense. Seriously, I mean, it's not the best armor. And I know I keep going on about it and on about it and on about it, but it's a real letdown. I mean, look at that. It's a fantastic gun. 4,458 damage. He's only bounced 760. He's only killed one tank, but this gun is so effective when it wants to play. And another well-deserved first class. And, oh, sorry about that. I don't know why I did that. And, Harry played that tank really well. Now, Harry has sent me another replay of him on Winter Malinovka, and I'm sticking this one in because this is just a fantastic ammo rack that I've scratched my head numerous times to wonder how on earth did he manage to ammo rack this Waffle Traeger. I mean, the poor Waffle Tractor looks like he's in a great position. The E75 is showing. He takes an aim on the E75. And he ammo racks the Waffle Tractor. I mean, that Waffle Tractor must be saying, what, when, where, how, why? How did that happen? I mean, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, I think this tank is pretty difficult, to be honest. I think it's a great tank. It's got the potential to be a fantastic tank. It does need a buff. I mean, its gun is spectacular. I mean, look at this. I mean, I'm just able to sort of plow into most things here. I mean, look at that big engine fire from a blimmin' Jag Tiger, for Pete's sake. I mean, but yeah, I dispatch him. So that's 2 tanks in as many seconds almost. The gun is great, don't get me wrong, but you need to play this tank cautiously. You can't use it as a true heavy. Anyway, I hope this review's been useful for those of you thinking about getting the VK72. You will need to use crew equipment and skills on this thing, because without it, you'll really struggle. By all means, comment and like below. Tell me your thoughts, your theories on the VK, what you think about it, how you've got on with it. By all means, send me some replays at the usual email address, fujitsblitz@gmail.com. More than happy to get as many replays as I possibly can. And please, if you can, just press subscribe. It costs you nothing, guys. It really does. Anyway, that's the VK7201K. A fantastic tank, potentially. And with that, I will say my usual. Stay safe out there, have fun on the battlefield, and happy tanking. Because that's what it's all about, guys. Fun and happiness, and not so toxic. Thanks for watching the video, and guys, please press subscribe. Costs you nothing. There'll be more videos coming out very soon.